I like the comparisons, I appreciate them, but I'm in my own lane. I'm gonna do things that John Cena's never done.
I actually had some success in natural bodybuilding.
I was a bodybuilding champion.
A United States champion.
I think my first connection to wrestling was John Cena.
I could see that. I could see that.
A lot of people say that to me.
It's no secret that the WWE is recreating John Cena with Austin Theory. And because of that comparison, I took a closer look at some of the NXT wrestlers and found some very astonishing similarities, starting with the next Brock Lesnar. Braun Breaker radiates 2002 Brock Lesnar vibes, practically embodying the beast. He's a football player that joined WWE early in his career, dominating everybody in his path due to his massive size difference. Just like Brock Lesnar, he also captured a major title extremely quickly. Braun even sounds relatively similar to Brock. It definitely seems like WWE is replicating him. And the strikingly mirror image-like comparisons don't end there. I found somebody that resembles a young Randy Orton. From the way they wear their sunglasses to the way they button their shirts, the comparison is truly fascinating to look at. Grayson Waller shares the same mannerisms, facial expressions, and even performs an identical finishing move like the RKO. Grayson Waller is the next Randy Orton. Then you've got the next AJ Lee in Roxanne Perez, who wears plaid, which conveniently matches AJ's old attire. They're even video game loving nerds. WWE has found its innocent underdog for the women's division. I'm convinced Carmelo Hayes is Chris Jericho. Just look at this pose that screams Chris Jericho that nobody else does. We haven't seen somebody that can match The Rock's energy until Montez Ford came along. Kurt Angle and Gable Stevenson's WWE origin stories are exactly the same. Cora Jade defines edginess the same way Lita did in the early 2000s. And even before releasing him, Harper was following the same path as Batista in the beginning of his career with WWE. Are these all coincidences, or is the WWE secretly recreating history? The truth is, it's always been happening.
The 24-inch pythons of the superstar will prevail.
Make no mistake about it, Austin Theory is stealing from one of the best to ever lace up a pair of boots. But there's nothing wrong about that. You've got to realize that there was a John Cena before John Cena, and his name is Hulk Hogan. They were both the top stars of their generations, and they were the ultimate babyfaces, as it was impossible for them to do wrong. The children and the families adored each respective superstar, and both men demonstrated superhuman strength and survived insurmountable odds. John Cena portrayed the Hulk Hogan character. Meanwhile, that character wasn't Hogan's unique creation to begin with. Before Hulk Hogan, it was superstar Billy Graham's persona. His 24-inch python catchphrase was even taken word for word. Hulk Hogan became the next Billy Graham, and that is just one of the many examples. MJF is out here snatching the torch from Ric Flair. From his arrogant loudmouth to his signature robe, he's undoubtedly taken inspiration from the Nature Boy. Speaking of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair stole that entire identity and robe from the other Nature Boy before him, Buddy Rogers. On the other hand, Andre the Giant changed the game for all massive 7-footers who joined the business after him. The Big Show did an excellent job at filling in those shoes, but the WWE has been in search of a new giant to take over ever since Big Show hung up those big boots. Omos is the newest experiment after failing with Braun Strowman and the Great Khali. You see, this isn't anything new. Vince McMahon and the WWE have always been doing this. It's not shocking in the slightest. As a matter of fact, it isn't only just professional wrestling. It is everything in the world. Nothing is original. Mark Twain, one of the greatest minds in writing history, makes that very argument. Twain believed that there was no such thing as plagiarism because there is no such thing as originality.
The kernel, the soul. Let us go further and say the substance, the bulk, the actual and valuable material of all human utterances is plagiarism. Mark Twain.
As Mark Twain eloquently explains, everything is plagiarized. Humans have perpetually taken inspiration from the people before them, whether that be consciously or subconsciously since the beginning of time. It's completely normal. It's the reason why Kobe emulated Michael Jordan's game that brought him so much success. Why TV shows like Family Guy flourished after following the footsteps of the formula that The Simpsons created, and why every other YouTuber is trying to become the next Mr. Beast. WWE is no different. A new class of young talent comes in, and Vince McMahon attempts to recreate magic from the past. While he's been able to strike gold in some cases like John Cena and The Big Show, there's been situations where he failed miserably. Alberto Del Rio couldn't be the next JBL despite the fancy car or the rich presentation. Jack Swagger was a Walmart version of Kurt Angle. Even Roman Reigns had a tough time replacing John Cena, so much so that he was utterly rejected. The issue with these failed experiments was that it didn't feel authentic or convincing. To quote the creative genius again, there's no such thing as originality, just authenticity.
But for me, bullying, my father was into my life. And when I looked at John Cena, it was somebody that was so motivating to me. And as cheesy as it is to a lot of people, this never give up thing meant so much to me.
Because John Cena had such a major impact in Theory's life, the connection between the two just feels so authentic. So much so that I see parallels of similarities and believe Theory has the potential.
I really can't put into words how big of a fan I was of Stone Cold and how big of an influence he was on my career.
You can't deny the fact that ever since taking over the stunner finisher, Kevin Owens does remind you of Stone Cold at least a little bit.
He is one of my favorites. And then I really did model a great portion of what I was doing after how he had modeled a lot of the game brand.
Cody Rhodes is this generation's Triple H. Everything from his presentation to his behind-the-scenes aspiration, it reminds me of the game, which Cody admits is something he replicated.
I'm inspired to be the female version of him. I want people and little girls to feel how Eddie made me feel when I watched wrestling.
Without Eddie Guerrero, there is no Sasha Banks. That is why these authentic connections are so important. When someone makes you feel this passionate about something, there's a great desire to carry on their legacy and introduce it to a new generation of people just like you. The inspirations don't just occur in WWE. We've seen it take place around the rest of the wrestling world.
Well, I'm gonna be a singer and a wrestler.
Whether it's AEW finding the next Goldberg in Wardlow, or witnessing a daredevil like Darby Allin that's reminiscent of Jeff Hardy, you see something in all of these guys, and that is passion and authenticity that is needed to succeed.
Because we patterned ourselves after these men. These men are what laid the foundation for all these guys. They're the reason we're here. They are the best.
That is something you can't fake. To answer the question of the video, yes, I do think that WWE is recreating history. It's always been happening, and not just in professional wrestling. It's in every aspect of life. It's a beautiful thing to see legacies continue, and with legends like John Cena, The Undertaker, and Triple H stepping away, people are concerned with the future. But I think we're headed towards a new generation. A generation of really talented people, full of passion and authenticity that will remind us of the past while giving their own unique twist to it. I think the future of wrestling is brighter than ever before.